live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Global. We'll get you top stories from India and the region. I am Tanvi Taneja, and for news from the rest of the world, I'm joined by my colleague in London, Ollie Barrett. Good afternoon, Ollie.
Hello there, Tanvi. It's 12:30 p.m. here in London, 1:30 p.m. across Central Europe. Coming up in the next half hour, India-China border issues, the UK Conservatives release their manifesto, and Indian-born designer Harry at London Fashion Week. First, the headlines.
India will focus on finding solutions to the border issues with China, says External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar after assuming charge for a second straight term. 4 American educators stabbed in a park in northeast China. Beijing calls it a random incident, not to affect people-to-people ties between the US. All on board the airplane carrying Malawi Vice President Chilima that went missing on Monday killed, informs the president of the East African nation. And UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party unveils its manifesto to shore up support. Opinion polls suggest Labour Party ahead. External Affairs Minister of India, Dr. S. Jaishankar, on Tuesday outlined distinct approaches to handling relations with China and Pakistan, asserting that India's foreign policy under the third term of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will focus on finding solutions to border issues with Beijing and the year-old cross-border terrorism with Islamabad.
के बारे में हम तो हमारी फोकस तो होगी कि सीमा में जो स्थिति जो है उसमें अभी भी कुछ इश्यूज बाकी बचे हुए हैं, तो उसको कैसे निपटाया जाए। और पाकिस्तान के साथ ये भी आप जानते हैं कि विषय जो है सालों से वो जो आतंकवाद का विषय जो है क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म, हाउ डू वी फाइंड अ सॉल्यूशन टू इट सो that cannot be the policy of a good neighbor.
More from China now. 4 American educators from Iowa University were injured in a stabbing attack in a public park in northeast China's Yilin province. The group had been visiting a temple in Beishan Park when they were attacked by a man with a knife. Meanwhile, China's foreign ministry on Tuesday said that the incident was a random attack and that it would not affect normal people-to-people exchanges between China and the United States.
4 foreign teachers from Zilin University were attacked while sightseeing in Beishan Park. All the injured individuals were immediately taken to the hospital and were given appropriate critical care. No one's life is in danger. The preliminary judgment from the police is that this case is a random incident. Currently, further investigations are underway.
And in some sad news now, all members, including Malawi's Vice President Saulos Klaus Chilima, whose plane went missing in a dense forest, have been declared dead on Tuesday. In a press statement, Malawi's President Chakwera announced that all 9 members on board on the plane that went missing on Monday have been killed. The plane had been scheduled to land at the Muzu airport but was unable to land due to poor visibility and was ordered to return to the capital. The president expressed deep condolences to the families. Vice President Saulos Klaus Chilima was a business executive turned politician and assumed the vice president office in 2020. He was also seen as a potential candidate in the next year's presidential election. On to Europe now. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has set out his Conservative Party's election manifesto on Tuesday to shore up his core vote. My colleague Ollie Barrett is in London. He takes it forward from me here and gives us more on this and other stories making headlines around the world. Ollie, will Sunak's pledges dent the Labour Party's lead?
Well, Tanvi, he will certainly hope so, with time running out quickly now before July the 4th and polling day. Sunak's Conservative Party manifesto promises a 2p cut in the national insurance tax on earnings. There's also child benefit expansion and an income tax break for pensioners. We can go live now to John Beaver, who's joining us from Bristol. John, the manifesto released in the last hour, what else is in it?
As Rishi Sunak really trying to appeal to every different element of the British public. He did things like promise to reduce the amount of money you pay when you buy a new house. So he was aiming there at younger people. He promised as well to make sure that retired people don't pay too much tax on their pensions. So very much aiming for the older generation as well. And then, as you mentioned, promising this cut on taxes as well. So this was really Rishi Sunak trying to appeal to the British public and say that it doesn't matter your age or your wealth or your status, that the Conservatives are the party for you. That was very much the message he was trying to get across. He had the slogan, a clear plan, bold action and secure future on the stage behind him as he was speaking at Silverstone, the F1 circuit. So that's very much what he's trying to get across. Of course, it's difficult for the Conservatives, isn't it? They've been in power since 2010, so they've had plenty of time to implement their policies. And here they are trying to tell voters that they've got plenty more ideas when it comes to the next Parliament.
Well, we've got the Conservative manifesto today, the Labour one later in the week, John. What are the main dividing lines with the opposition Labour Party at this point?
Well, one criticism that there's been of the Labour Party is that we don't have enough details about their exact policies. They've been trying to keep a broad appeal to everybody. So there have been some criticisms of the Labour Party and of their leader, Sir Keir Starmer, as well, saying that he's failing to nail down exact policies. So as you say, all eyes on the Labour manifesto launch in a couple of days' time, where we'll get some more details. Certainly, though, Labour would say things like they will aim to cut taxes for working class people, but that they won't promise to do that until the economy has grown sufficiently. They criticise the Conservatives, saying that their economic plans don't quite add up. As well as that, we have Labour very much being more ambitious when it comes to green policies, particularly green energy. They're promising to decarbonise electricity generation by 2030. They say that's much more optimistic, that they're really trying to push that through. They're trying to do that sooner than the Conservatives. The Conservatives, on the other hand, say that actually Labour's plans just aren't realistic. So we have this constant back and forth with someone putting forward a policy and then those policies being criticised by the opposition. Of course, it's up to the voters to decide which policies they like the sound of and which policies they think will make the biggest change to their lives when it comes to voting in the forthcoming general election.
John Beaver in Bristol, thank you. French political parties are aiming to find alliances after opinion polls show that Marine Le Pen's far-right party could be likely to win an upcoming election. President Emmanuel Macron called the snap election after a poor performance by his party in the European Union parliamentary elections on June the 9th. DD India's Ross Cullen reports from Paris.
The French president has taken a huge gamble in calling this snap general election, taking place in just 19 days' time now on the 30th of June. He is hoping that his party, Renaissance, can claw back some of the seats that it lost in the last general election just 2 years ago in 2022. But all eyes will be on the performance of the far-right party, the National Rally. The polls were correct in terms of their performance on Sunday the 9th of June in the European Union's parliamentary elections. The polls said they would get around 30%, and they did that, getting 31% and landing the greatest number of seats to be sent by France to the European Union Parliament in Brussels. the surveys that will be coming out in the coming days, polling the French electorate for who they are going to vote for and why, we'll be paying close attention to those, because they will be able to say if the National Rally has cut through at a domestic level in the way that it cut through in the European Union election campaign. Emmanuel Macron has a lot on his plate internationally, but back here at home, he is in a weak parliamentary position. Before he even called this election, he is hoping that his situation does not become almost untenable if the National Right win the election. Ross Cullen in Paris, reporting for DD India.
Well, European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen has been trying to piece together a coalition after the far right made gains in EU polls, despite centrist parties holding ground. Von der Leyen's European People's Party did gain seats, but to secure a second five-year term, she also needs the support of a majority of the EU's national leaders. With 400 seats, parties backing her in the 720-member parliament has reached the majority by a narrow margin. The EU Commission chief is expected to reach out to Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni for support. Meanwhile, the poll results came as a blow, as we've been hearing from Ross Cullen, to the French President Emmanuel Macron, but also to German Chancellor Olaf Scholz, whose parties both trailed behind the right wing. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have joined delegates and government representatives for a working session as the two-day Ukraine Recovery Conference gets underway in Berlin. The finance ministries of Ukraine and Germany have signed a joint declaration of intent to bolster bilateral cooperation to support Ukraine's reconstruction after the invasion by Russia. Meanwhile, the Italian government's announced it's agreed a package of $150 million for Ukrainian infrastructure and stands ready to send a further package to support air defence. Well, DD India's Trent Murray joins us live from the conference in Berlin. Trent, Zelensky's attending the event in person as well. What's he been saying?
Yeah, that's right, Ollie. The Ukrainian president speaking right now, actually, with Chancellor Olaf Scholz in that joint press conference. But we're already getting some of the key themes and asks that he has brought to this European conference. First and foremost, he has made that plea once again for more air defence. He says that is desperately needed because his country now is regularly experiencing rolling blackouts as a result of Russia targeting its power stations with bombing. And he's been warning that as winter comes, even though it's still a little while away, that the situation could get particularly dire for Ukrainians with no access to electricity and heating. We have also heard around some of the plans about how to reconstruct his war-torn country. Olaf Scholz announcing a new program that's going to be funded from some of these delegates to train and upskill 180,000 construction workers within Ukraine as part of those efforts to try and rebuild critical infrastructure, including schools, hospitals, homes, and again, the power grid. Discussions also underway about Ukraine's long-held ambition to join the European Union. Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission chief, is here, and she said she expects those negotiations and discussions to begin officially by the end of this month. And we are also hearing from Zelensky about some of those plans for him to travel to that other major summit taking place in Europe in coming days. That is the Ukrainian Peace Summit. We know more than 90 countries will attend that peace summit, but of course the big elephant in the room is the fact Russia will not attend, Moscow calling that summit a waste of time. Ollie.
Trent Murray at the Ukraine Recovery Conference in Berlin for DD India. Thank you. The Biden administration will lift a ban on allowing a controversial Ukrainian military unit to use US weapons, according to reporting in the Washington Post, citing State Department officials. The State Department is understood to be reversing a decade-old prohibition on the Azov Brigade from using American training and weapons. This after new analysis found no evidence of human rights violations by the unit. In a statement obtained by the newspaper, the State Department said that after thorough review, Ukraine's 12th Special Forces Azov Brigade passed vetting carried out by Washington. London-based and Indian-born designer Harry has held a show at London Fashion Week. Switzerland's Nemo sang his award-winning song The Code at the event in a white inflatable gown. Nemo won the Eurovision Song Contest for 2024 recently. Previously, the designer Harry has created a black inflatable latex suit for the singer Sam Smith, which he wore for the 2023 Brit Awards. Not dressed today by Harry. That's it from me here in London. Back to you, Tanvi.
Thank you very much, Ollie. Ollie Barrett joining us all from London. You're watching DD India Global, still to come on the show. Hamas accepts a UN resolution backing a plan to end the Gaza crisis. US Secretary of State calls it a hopeful sign. And in the run-up to the 10th International Day of Yoga on 21st of June, India's spiritual town of Varanasi gears up for the event.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Thank you for staying with us. You're watching DD India Global. I am Tanvi Taneja. On to Asia again. The Israeli military said on Tuesday that 4 soldiers had been killed in southern Gaza. As per army officials, they were killed in an explosion set off in a building in Rafah. Meanwhile, sirens warning of possible incoming rockets were sounded in the northern port city of Haifa. Israeli Air Force struck over 35 targets in the Gaza Strip over the past day. The targets included buildings used by terror groups, weapon depots, as well as cells of terror operatives. Meanwhile, families of hostages in Israel on Tuesday called on Joe Biden to secure a deal that will release all hostages. Protesters gathered outside a hotel where US Secretary of State Antony Blinken was meeting with Israeli officials and families of hostages during his short visit to Israel. Blinken said that Hamas's signal of support for UN-backed Gaza truce deal is a hopeful sign. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Israel's opposition party leader Yair Lapid in Tel Aviv on Tuesday to discuss the ceasefire proposal outlined by Washington. The White House said that Israel has accepted the ceasefire deal, although Israeli officials have not formally announced it yet. Blinken further called Hamas's decision to accept the ceasefire proposal outlined to end this West Asia conflict a hopeful sign. Sri Lanka's State Minister for Power and Energy D.V. Chanaka stated that India was the savior of the island nation during its economic crisis. Speaking exclusively to our special correspondent, the minister recalled the generous assistance provided by India to Sri Lanka at the peak of its crisis.
India was the first one to stand with us. In 2022, actually, India was the savior of our country, and India was the first country to come forward and come up with the Indian credit line. Especially during the energy crisis, we almost had our fuel run out from our country. During that time, India and especially the LIOC came out and helped us to resumption of fuel supply. Sri Lanka have identified the Trinco as our energy hub. Especially we are looking forward to build a refinery in Trincomalee, as well as looking forward closely working with India.
More from India now. The 14th edition of the Indo-Pacific Geointelligence Forum is currently underway in Delhi. The two-day event was inaugurated by former Union Minister General V.K. Singh. The Indo-Pacific region holds significant importance in the global security landscape, where space, infrastructure and geospatial intelligence both play crucial roles in maintaining regional stability and security.
Because it has got its advantages of there will be no body bags, it has got multiple use cases, and the best of all is it has got deniability. So the state and non-state actors both are going to be using these drones.
The Bharatiya Janata Party legislature of Odisha is meeting currently to elect the Chief Minister of the state. Union ministers and BJP observers Rajnath Singh and Bhupender Yadav arrived at the party office. The BJP on June 4th secured a majority by winning 78 seats in the 147-member Odisha Assembly. However, the party is yet to choose a leader who will be at the helm of the state. The BJP has appointed Union ministers Rajnath Singh and Bhupender Yadav to oversee the selection of the new Chief Minister of Odisha. And DD India's Saubhagya Kar now joins us on the story from New Delhi. Saubhagya, all eyes are on this crucial BJP meeting today to decide the Chief Minister of the state. What is the latest you are gathering?
Yeah, Tanvi, for the first time BJP will be having its own Chief Minister in Odisha. So the BJP Legislative Party meeting is underway in the party head office in Bhubaneswar. Short while ago, Rajnath Singh and Bhupender Yadav, they reached there and they had a one-on-one meeting with all the newly elected MLAs. So they are guessing their mood who, and now you cannot say shots in the dark who will become the Chief Minister, but yes, by probably few hours from now you will get to know who will become Odisha's Chief Minister. But another interesting thing, Tanvi, let me tell you, like BJP is looking for a Chief Minister now, the state administration, they are also looking for a house for the Chief Minister. This is very interesting.
Okay.
You know, for the last 24 years, Navin Patnaik stayed at his residence, Navin Nivas. So there is no formal official Chief Minister's bungalow as such in Bhubaneswar. So now the state administration is looking for a house for the Chief Minister. So this is also interesting.
Yeah, indeed. Any names going rounds, or shall we wait for some more time?
Tanvi, as you know, in many cases, in BJP cases, is always a surprise new face will come into picture. There are two names are coming. Manmohan Samal, party state president, who lost election by a narrow margin, and the other contender is present MLA Suresh Pujari. And interestingly, both of them drove to Navin Nivas today in the morning, and they invited Navin Patnaik for the swearing-in ceremony held tomorrow. And the Prime Minister and Home Minister is coming tomorrow to attend the swearing-in ceremony in the evening.
Okay, it's just a matter of time then. Thank you very much, Saubhagya Kar, for giving us these updates. And now let's take a look at who else are making news around the world. A UAE-based perfume maker, Yusuf Bhai, is famous for recreating the exact desired smell for his clients. Known as Dr. Perfume, Yusuf has ancestral roots in India. Having taken over his father's business, Yusuf Bhai hopes to sell his perfumes all over the world. Volunteers in the Swiss town of Forel are using drones to locate the unintended fawns in agricultural fields. The doos leave their fawns in fields while they search for food, which leaves them susceptible to getting killed by agricultural machinery. China's X-Robots factory makes humanoid robots with the help of artificial intelligence. The company focuses on using AI to recognize and express human emotions. Making robots for museum displays, the company hopes to use them in healthcare and education sector. More than 1,000 exotic animals were killed in a fire that spread through an animal market in Thailand in the early hours of Tuesday. Firefighting teams rushed to the location to contain the blaze. Primary investigation showed that the cause of the fire was an electrical fault. And now we take you to India's spiritual town of Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh, where people are preparing to practice yoga and celebrate the International Day of Yoga on 21st of June. Yoga sessions are being organized by Professor Raj Kumar at Sampurnanand Sanskrit University in Varanasi. Special preparations are being made and various yoga programs will be conducted from June 15th to June 21st.
से स्वस्थता रहती है, बहुत से फ़ायदे होते हैं और अनिद्रा, स्वस्थता सारी की कुछ यहाँ पे हमें इसका सहयोग मिल रहा है।
मैं विगत कई वर्षों से योग कर रहा हूँ, जिससे मानसिक और शारीरिक सहयोग से विकास होता है और मोटापा इससे दूर होता है और मानसिक और शारीरिक दोनों रूप से हम स्वस्थ होते हैं।
अगर हम योग करते हैं तो आपका मानसिक और शारीरिक दोनों विकास होता है।
So the rhythm of the body, the melody of the mind and the harmony of the soul create the symphony of life. That is what is yoga. So we're all ready to celebrate the International Day of Yoga on 21st of June. For those of who do not practice yoga yet, well, this is the time to get inspired. That's all for this edition of DD India Global. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And for those on the go, you can download our DD India mobile app. So we will be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from my entire team in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.